Well, Kitty Vickies, I was in Manila for a couple of days, and I managed to watch one of the summer's most highly anticipated films, Man of Steel, a Nolan-produced reboot of the Superman film series at an IMAX theater in 3D, which was directed by Zack Snyder, who also directed 300 and my pick for one of the most underrated films of 2009, Watchmen. I want to keep this fairly short, since I have other things I want to get started on and or continue working on. So how was it? It was pretty okay for the most part. Is it as bad as the critics make it out to be? Not really, but it's also not perfect, and I did encounter my inevitable gripes along in its story and characters. Not going to list them all, but I am going to talk about a few. The plot summary is after Kryptonians run out of natural energy and try to utilize the planet's core, it becomes unstable and is set to blow up everything. Jor-El, played by Russell Crowe, sends his son, Kal-El, the first natural born in centuries, to Earth along with some Kryptonian genetic codex thingamabob. But as that's happening, there's an uprising by General Zod, played by Michael Shannon, and his compatriots. And this happen that supposedly sends them to the Phantom Zone. It is then around here where the story shifts to Earth to see Kal-El, played by Henry Cavill, live his life as Clark Kent, going from place to place to find his true purpose, leading him to his fate as the Man of Steel himself, Superman. But when General Zod finds Earth, he seeks to initiate his Earth-destroying plan, and of course, only one man is truly enough to save it. Now, I'm going to say that the story is a little undercooked when it comes to exploring the characters, despite what's hinted in trailers and said in interviews. For how much it builds up Superman to being someone of huge potential for good, it seems to never truly pay off, mainly because we don't get enough of him from a down-to-earth perspective. When he has dialogue, it doesn't last that long, and a majority of his scenes are in the action scenes, which I'll get to later. We don't get a whole lot out of this Superman. And as good an actor as Henry Cavill is, I feel his talents were a bit underutilized, which is a shame because he is good for the part. He looks, sounds, and when the script allows him, can even act like Superman. But even with this, I couldn't really get invested. Granted, I get what they were trying to go for, what with the whole he's from an alien planet and he's an outcast thing that was going on, but aside from those being told in flashbacks, there isn't much development on that front. He searches for his heritage, and there! He's Superman! Lois Lane, played by Amy Adams, fails to stand up from the pack, and like Superman, doesn't have much payoff to whatever her character was meant to be. When she's proactive, she's like that for a few moments before, "Oh no, Superman, you gotta save her!" She just didn't have much material to output her intended personality to be impactful. And don't get me started on her relationship to Superman. To put it lightly, the romance between him and Lois lacks genuine chemistry to the point where I question just why they ended up together to begin with. At best, the both of them just talk, and when the predictable kissing scene finally came around, I asked myself out loud, why? What romance was there to bring them together? How did it get here? Where was the psychology behind it? He saves her a bunch of times, now they're a couple? It's not like they had a flying scene that gushed chemistry, as again, the best their romance could muster was talking about stuff, and it's this lack of believability that got to me most. Now, I could go on about the pacing having tendencies to go up and down, an Act 2 that feels more like an Act 1.5, it's a confused ending, etc. But now I want to get to what I liked most about the plot and characters, and it's without a doubt, General Zod himself, who actually has a good amount of nuance to him as to make his "I'm going to destroy the world" plot kinda interesting, and makes him slightly tragic in a way. You see, the social structure is that Kryptonians are artificially conceived, and when born, are assigned their roles in life based on their genes, which kinda plays into Zod as a character. For trailers and other promotional material, he's always saying how he's doing good for his people, and won't let anyone get in his way. Well, there's a reason for that, and it's because, yeah, that is his purpose in life. To protect the Kryptonian people and or do what is right for them, which is one of the reasons he decided to rebel to begin with. All the while, here's Kal-El, a natural born sent to Earth and raised by humans who does what he wants to do. And it's this connection to the Kryptonian social structure that ends up being his undoing, because while he believes his plot will be good for the remaining Kryptonians, that's all he dares to care about, not because he's strictly evil, but because that's what he does. And Michael Shannon really rides this character home. Choice is one of the themes of the film, and it's good to see that it affects hero and villain in different ways. This is even further solidified during the third act, when his plans are foiled and his forces defeated, that he goes into madness, saying that he was in charge of leading them to the prosperity of the Kryptonian race, and now that they're gone, he has nothing left. Which pretty much makes General Zod my favorite character in the film, because, if you ask me, he was the one with the most depth. And last but not least, the action scenes, and Jesus skirt on wheat bread, the action scenes! Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but imagine if you took Dragon Ball Z's ultra-fast, explosive, and huge-scaled battles, replaced the characters with Superman characters, and you made it in live action without it being tied to an inherently shitty movie, and BAM! You got Man of Steel's action scenes in all their huge scale, explosive, beautifully designed, orchestrated, and fast-paced glory. Hell, the trailers don't even begin to do them justice. Zack Snyder has always been one for visuals, and that is no different for this film. If you ever went, man, I wish these comic book Superman fights made it to film, well, here you go! Trust me when I say this film is one hell of a visual and auditory piece of cinema, from special effects to the musical score. Barely holds bars, and whether you see it in 2D or 3D, it's incredible stuff. Definitely the perfect film to go along with your popcorn and soda, and helps to balance the film's somewhat lean narrative. So overall, do I recommend Man of Steel? Yes, but not for the reasons one would normally go into a film. This is a blockbuster through and through, and a damn enjoyable one if you sit back and prepare to go, hell yeah, did you see that shit? But if you're expecting a film charged with a chock full of substance alongside fantastic action scenes, Man of Steel does one aspect completely right. In a way, this can be seen as a contrast to Superman Returns, where that film tried to do a lot of story and flopped hard, and tried to do action and bored people to sleep. This says story is the side order, here's the main course, and it doesn't disappoint. It's not bad, and you sure as hell won't be forgetting it, but expect more out of it, and you'll be let down a bit. It's not unwatchable, but it's far from super.